Hi, I'm Mike London. I'm visiting with artists who work in the Miami Valley, and Culture Works supports so many of them, and arts organizations. And these interviews are a chance for us to get to know some of them. Today, I'm speaking with Noah Berry, and hi, Noah. So I'm not going to do a big introduction, Noah. So I'm just going to ask you to introduce yourself and tell us who you are and about your art.
Awesome. Hi. Well, I am, as you said, I'm Noah Berry. I am primarily an actor musician. Um, I've been out on the road touring for quite some time, for the past couple of years, touring as a performer, a singer, and most recently I was on a tour with a show called The Buddy Holly Story, which is all 1950s rock and roll. I played the drummer, but my main my main instrument is vocals.
So do you think of yourself as a vocalist first?
I would say vocalist first and drummer second,
Yeah.
and
And
then followed by a plethora of other things.
so how did you start singing? I mean, were you one of those why are you a singer and not a painter or
Sure. Well, my dad was an amateur opera singer. He sang in the Dayton Opera for quite some time, doing the
yeah.
choral stuff, and he sang in church choirs. And my mom was big in the arts as well. She directed a lot of shows that I was in as a child, and so arts and primarily singing was a big part of my life growing up. I sang in choirs and I did all of the high school OMEA competitions.
Sure.
And it just sort of snowballed into, you know what, I think I could use this to make a career for myself.
That's great. So you got over early. You know how some actors they have a problem. They're afraid of singing. They're
Right.
when you don't sing a lot, you're afraid of your own voice.
Yeah. It's I was certainly, seventh and eighth grade uh, was that time I was trying to figure out, the voice was changing and you're
Yeah.
kind of going, okay, what am I going to turn into? Am I going to be a bass, a baritone, a tenor? What's going to happen? And
Yeah.
so there was a lot of that uncertainty, especially starting out with voice lessons. I started taking voice lessons in high school. I was lucky. I was fortunate to have like little lessons here and there from my dad, who
Yeah.
would kind of teach me how he knows how to sing. But then I started taking lessons from actual voice teachers in high school, going into college and all that stuff. So I certainly, it was very, I was lucky to start at a young age because I gained the confidence early on.
So and where was college for you?
I spent a year at Otterbein University doing vocal performance.
Yes, yes.
And then I was offered a scholarship to attend Northern Kentucky University for musical theater.
Yeah.
So I went there for the remaining 3 years.
Wow, both good programs.
Yeah, Otterbein was wonderful, and I learned a lot in that 1 year of being there. But my main focus, I really wanted to be a musical theater actor. So I switched over to NKU, and they were wonderful, and I learned a lot from them. And now I'm out trying to do the best I can.
Yeah. No, you were lucky. Really good programs. I know the
Mm-hmm.
program at Otterbein. I used to teach there for a while.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so, so when you finished school, what did you do? Did you just start the grind? Did you go to New York? Did you?
Mm-hmm. So the first thing that I did was, ooh, don't mind the dogs.
No, that's okay. This is live. That's the way it's going to be. Live tape, that
It's
is.
gonna be,
Yeah.
it's good stuff. Anyway, so my first big thing right out of school was I started work at a Renaissance fair. I went to the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair as one of their actors, and I was in like a little singing group, and we were a band of pirates roaming around the fair. We each had a little instrument we would play and sing, and that job was a great starting job because it taught me vocal endurance, because you're out there on those streets
I
like
bet.
13 hours not all at once, but you're out there all day yelling and singing and, shouting things and, constantly talking. So by the end of the day, God, it just sounded like this. It was, it was really a good tool to work on vocal stability, to work on A, and then to B, work on improv, because you're out there without a script, walking around being friendly to patrons and singing random music. So it worked on acting chops as well as singing chops. And then immediately out of the fair, I booked the first national tour of the Buddy Holly story.
Okay.
So it was one thing after another, and I toured for a while, and we never got enough time to sit down and go, all right, let's move to New York. So I've been very fortunate to just be working the entire time. So it's a good problem to have. It's like, oh shoot, I can't go do this because I'm out doing another thing. So, and my wife and I just really wanted to make sure we had a good foundation before we moved to this giant, scary city. So, it's been good. It's been a learning experience touring and doing all these things.
So how often do you get back home to the valley?
Well, for a while we lived in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
My wife worked there as a teacher for the Children's Theater of Cincinnati. And I got to go and work there as well. And we actually got to work together as touring actors in their theater. They would tour to schools and libraries and community centers and stuff. And so we did that for a while. And then after that, it was just this last year, 2018 into 19. I went off and did a national tour, and then we both got a job in Missouri doing a summer stock gig where she was going to be in a show and then being the education director while I got to be in the show and do a couple other things. So we did that. We moved out of Cincinnati, and then we just sort of kind of did one thing after another, doing regional gigs and touring until COVID-19 happened. And then we stopped and went, okay, maybe we should take some time to get back in touch with our family and our roots and, make sure everybody's okay. And so I came back to Dayton to stay with my mom.
Yeah.
I'm currently staying in her home. And Allie lives in Mansfield, Ohio, is where her parents are from. So she went back there, I went here, and we've sort of been in communication. And then just this past weekend, actually, I'm proud to say, we got married, so I can say my wife. So this is we are 5 days married at this point now. So
wow! Congratulations, man!
Thank you. We had a wedding scheduled, and then this kind of messed it all up. So we said, let's take control, and we eloped, and it was awesome. It was a wonderful time. But anyway,
I love that.
We did that, and we are now going to move into our own little place here in Dayton while we're waiting to hear from our producer about when the tour is going to go back out.
Yeah. No, it's a really rough time. Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different reasons those of us who do art, do it. Why do you think you're a singer? I mean, aside from the fact that you really grew up with it, but what is it about this work in the theater that makes you get up and do? Because it's not always easy. I mean, a lot of people think, they have the glamour. It's a lot of work. It's not always easy. What is it that makes it something you have to do?
Yeah, for me, I have always loved the thrill of being on a stage.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of that you're in the moment, and you have this group of people that are sitting there watching you, and you could either blow it all with one slip up, or you could just completely dazzle an entire group of people and change their world for at least 2 hours. And so it was this feeling of, many people change perspectives and change lives through their work. And I think actors and musicians and artists in general change perspectives of people through the work that they do because they love it. It's their passion. You know, they are born to be passionate about this.
Yeah.
And especially as a singer, you know, this instrument is so versatile. You can use it in a number of ways. And it was one of those things that I just grew up doing it, and I grew up loving to sing. And you can pour as much or as little emotion into it as you want, and you can, you know, change people's perspectives. You can at least bring joy, especially at a time that is quite dark. You know, it was a wonderful outlet for me to say I can use my skills that I've acquired through the years to bring joy to somebody. And I'm all about I'm all about bringing happiness to someone, at least for a short moment.
So I'm curious, when you think of or when I think of the different genres of music, and I think of the different styles, and you mentioned, you know, I know your father, you know, sang opera. I know that you have these different influences, and I'm curious, you know, you're on tour with the Buddy Holly show, then there's the Renaissance music, there's all these different experiences that you've had. I'm curious, what do you like to sing? What do you like to sing?
Well, yeah, I'm sort of a smorgasbord of musical tastes.
So what's really fun?
For me, I love singing like really soulful stuff, like, you know, like the John Legends and the,
like,
you know,
sing me something. I'll put you on the spot. Something that just give me a few bars of something that you really like, just touches you and you just love singing it.
I mean, anything that lets me sort of kind of ebb and flow, like the musicality. So I love anything John Legend. I love like Alicia Keys. I love any of that, like kind of really good soulful music. I don't know. I love gosh, I'm trying to think. I mean, one song that I always sing, because I actually sang an arrangement of it in an a cappella group I was in.
Yeah.
We sang "If I Ain't Got You" by Alicia Keys. You know, and it has that really like that beautiful. She has such a raw like emotion in her voice.
Yeah, she does.
And it's just it's so fun to kind of capture that and do my own interpretation of it. And I always loved singing that. You know. You know, and the words are just so beautiful too. It's like, some people live for the fortune, some people live just for the fame, some people live for the power. You know, like some of that. I love like the riffing and the vocal like agility, the kind of stuff. That's more fun for me.
That's the fun stuff. So what's the really challenging thing? What's the one that you like to do it, but it's really hard?
I mean, honestly, the hardest one for me is the classical stuff, the arias, the operatic stuff, and I worked on it for quite some time, especially freshman year of college when I was a vocal performance major. That was all I was dealing with, and it was, you know, I enjoyed singing it. I loved the beauty of the music, and I loved getting to interpret it. Excuse me. But it's still challenging for me because it's in a certain place where you have to have everything very, you know, open and operatic, and sometimes it's hard for me to do that because I switch back into this sort of poppy sound, you know.
Yeah.
So that was always. I love singing that kind of stuff, but I definitely feel out of my element when I'm singing it.
Yeah, that's the rough stuff. So what's new? I mean, when you think about trying something new, what's a new style that is you're just curious about that you've come across recently? Anything new?
Oh gosh. I mean, there's a lot of, being a musical theater actor, there's a lot of new shows that have come out,
Yeah.
and lots
Yeah. What have you
of
heard this week?
new, there's all these new challenging musicals coming out that are um, testing actors' vocal ranges.
Yeah.
One example, I'm trying, recently, I feel like I'm slow to get on the bandwagons. So I was fairly slow to listen to like Dear Evan Hansen.
Yeah.
It's a huge musical, but it took me a really long time to actually sit down and listen to it, because I'm terrible at actually forcing myself to sit down and listen to something new. But that's one of those shows where the main character has to sing, down to a low A or a low G or something, and then belt all the way up into the stratosphere. So, a lot of these new musicals are coming out with, you have to, if you want to be in these shows, you have to have a really wide vocal range. So, being in contemporary musical theater means that you have to challenge yourself and really work on your vocal abilities, and how low and how high, and sort of stretching your range every day. So yeah.
Fun. Yeah, there is so much that's happening.
Mhm.
And so how has the bebop era been to you?
Yeah, I love the Buddy Holly stuff, the 50s rock and roll, Elvis, Buddy Holly. It's all, it's like the chord progressions are simple, but the music is so beautiful, and it was life changing at the time, and there's such history behind it, and especially with Buddy Holly, I've been in his world for quite some time.
Yeah.
He had his roots in country music, but he was one of those musicians that never settled. He always pushed the limits on what his sound was. He had a certain thing when he first started out in his first album, and then the second one, it started to change and blossom. And then, by the last couple of albums he had before his untimely demise, he was one of the first people to incorporate big, rushing strings in his orchestration, and lots of different interesting instruments and different rhythms with a guitar. He was very inventive for the time. So being a part of that music and sort of figuring out like who drew inspiration from that and became who they were because of him and because of his originality, it's really cool to be a part of that.
As you've gone along, have there been other performers that have influenced you, or that you've learned from?
Yeah, I have definitely. Buddy Holly has been a big one for me, just because I've been in a few productions of that now at this point. I love, one person I always seem to draw from. I love John Legend.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those performers that he has had such an amazing career, and he's also an incredibly wonderful guy. And he's from Springfield, Ohio, so it's cool to see that and hear how beautiful his music is, and how he can reach out and be such a good, caring person, where you hear so many stories about professional musicians, especially the more famous ones, being not so nice. So when you hear the stories of these really good people being famous, it's like, that's so good to hear, because it's not just about the music, it's about your image, and it's about what you give back to the world.
What do you want to do next?
Well, I certainly want to move to New York. That's my next big venture. Obviously right now would be a terrible time to move. So we are settling here for the moment, and waiting to hear back about if we're going to go back on this tour. And if we do, then that tour is going to go until the spring of 2021. And then after that, we're going to reevaluate, and hopefully it'll be time to make a big move. And just going to go and try to hit the bricks and hit the ground running, so to speak. And just try and live as a professional performer. And that's, yeah.
I'm curious, what has it meant for you? I mean, one of the things that we're looking at right now, and I'm talking to, are artists that have worked and lived in the Dayton area, in the Miami Valley. What has it meant for you to have come from here and to work here?
I actually was thinking about this last week. I was talking to an old friend that I did Muse Machine with. Muse Machine is a great, an amazing program in Dayton for young actors and musicians to come and be a part of this really good professional setting. And we got to perform on the Victoria stage, which is so cool. I was talking to my friend about our time in Muse Machine and just how lucky we were that Dayton had this program and has these big programs where students can come and learn so much about not just being an actor, being a musician, being a performer, but about the professional side of things too. And that's something that I think many programs and many classes overlook, is the business side of it and the professional, the work side of it. We all do this because we love it and because it's fun, but there is a huge work side to it. You have to put in this enormous amount of work to do it professionally. And it can be really tough at times, and it can be strenuous and not just on your voice or your body, but on your on your psyche. It's a heavy burden. It's a big profession to do, and you go in knowing that you're not going to be the richest person in the world. But you don't do it because of that. You do it because you love it and you are passionate about it. And I think being in Dayton, getting all of those opportunities at a younger age, getting to be in these big, wonderful shows. And, I went to Oakwood High School, and we had a fairly nice theater program. We had a lot of, I was in marching band and choir and an a cappella group. I had every possible musical, I had every opportunity to pursue my dreams as an artist. So Dayton definitely gave me the tools at a young age to do what I'm doing today. And I could not be more blessed and thankful to this city for giving me those tools.
That's great. Thank you so much for this. I don't want to I don't want to keep you too long today, but
I have nothing else to do.
Good, then I've caught you at the right time, haven't I?
I might have to go pour a second cup of coffee, but besides that.
Before we wrap up, I do want to ask, there are a lot of there are a lot of other youths out there that are here in the community. There are a lot of other young artists. So if you had to give them a couple pieces of advice about what it means to be an artist and learn here, what would you tell them? What would you recommend to them to keep in mind or to do?
I would say ABC, which is always be curious. Always be willing to learn, and always be ready to collaborate and to be a part of things. I think the most successful people in the world in terms of this business are the ones who never say that they're done learning. Constantly be taking classes and reading and watching things for inspiration. I've been trying to get into voice acting recently, and I'm reading all of these new things about the business of voice acting and what to do with that, and mic please, all those things. But the point of that is, me being a successful singer and artist, that's just the tip of the iceberg as an artist. I have, and you all have, so much more potential to just be a well-rounded human as well as an artist. Every opportunity you get to learn something new and to perfect something new I could not stress that enough, is just be curious.
Thank you so much. For everybody
Yeah.
who's watching out there, Culture Works supports, as I said before, so many different organizations and artists. If you want to know more about what Culture Works does, if you want to join Culture Works, if you want to be a member, if you want to be one of the supporters for the Muse Machine and all of the other programs that we have right here in town, go to cultureworks.org. That's the website. You'll find out everything you can about being a Passport member and supporting, and you'll learn about all of the organizations and artists that Culture Works supports. Noah, thank you so much for today. I really appreciate it. And hopefully the next time I get to see you and your wife, it's not going to have this in between us.
No, well, it'll be a video of us talking in two chairs together.
There you go. That would
be
like.
great.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Happy to be here.
All righty.